Okay, we will go ahead and begin. We are gathered and ready to call the meeting to order for the Port of Centralia regular meeting. I will start with introductions. I'm Commissioner Kyle Markstrom.
I'm Commissioner Julie Shafley.
Commissioner Peter Lamont.
Can you hear us okay, Commissioner Lamont?
Yes. It's a little bit quiet, but
Okay. Sorry, go ahead. First item on the agenda for today is approval of today's agenda.
I move to approve the agenda for the October 16th regular meeting as written.
second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item on the agenda for today is good of the order public comment. This time is for public comment. You will be able to comment on anything port related. There will be time later in the meeting to comment on agenda items where we will take action. You will have 3 minutes for your comments. Please step to the podium when giving your comment, and if you reach your time limit, we will ask you to wrap up. If you have a specific public records request, please see port staff for a records request form so we can be sure to get you the information you require. First person we have signed in for public comment today is Paul Crowner. Paul Crowner, Centralia. As the port begins to decide on a budget for 2025 and after seeing the preliminary budget, I have a few comments. A two-page preliminary budget I feel is almost meaningless. First, I went through the budgets that I've saved and compared several. Perhaps it's comparing apples and oranges, but an explanation or notation of each line item would allow taxpayers to see the stewardship of the funds that the constituents paid. So I went back and compared 2023 with 2025, skipped a year. Final budget of 23 shows total revenues of almost 20 million. Preliminary budget of 25 shows total revenues of just over 2 million. It's approximately 1,000% difference. Sure, it can be explained simply. Final budget of 23 shows total expenses of 15 million approximately. Preliminary budget for 25 shows total expenses of just under 2 million. It's approximately a 75% difference. Again, a simple explanation should be available, and perhaps it could be explained in notes attached to the line items. Otherwise, the differences are hard to comprehend without clarification. The salaries for administration and commissioners shows just a shade over 400,000 for 23. This year it shows an increase of almost 20% up to just under 500,000. Could this be broken down into more detail for the administration and commissioners? I'm working with the county commissioners, and in their preliminary budget, it's kind of interesting. Each line item is given detail for each position. That information is online on the website called opengov.com, and it also is available in print. For example, you can look up each commissioner's salary and benefits. And here I have the commissioner's salary and their benefits. And it's right here, it's available to the public. And you can pick out which commissioner is getting what by their salary. Board of Centralia does not have that sort of information readily available and accessible to the public. Why? Lastly, as the budget is being prepared, I refer to a comment made by one of the port's founders, Robert Thompson, back in 1994, as quoted in the Chronicle. As an aside, I knew Mr. Thompson, and I knew his wife. She was a strong supporter of the Centralia arts and music community. They even gave us a Christmas tree one year, thanks to their daughter, who was known by her nickname, Lucy. Your time is up. If you could wrap it up, I appreciate it. Mr. Thompson said, our primary goal is to eliminate the tax levy. He hopes that it would happen 8 to 10 years ago. Well, that was 40 years ago. So the tax levy for the port of Everett was in existence
Oh.
for 80 years. So
Mr. Fallon, I'm sorry, your time's up. If we can move on to the next public comment. Thank you.
one sentence. The challenge for the commissioners today is to make the tax levy disappear. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person we have signed in for public comment today is Jan Banovich.
And then I'm trying. Once again, here to remind you for the advice of the Seattle attorney. Personally, so I'm translated to the past. I have had an opportunity to see that. And in my opinion, it's very qualified. The attorney's letter does not describe any details about the investigation, how it could deceive the public, what harm it has caused, and what consequences there will be for one. The attorney's letter was written as an email and apparently sent on April 16th, 2024 to Stephanie Von Moose, admitted administrator of the Foster page. Now, 6 months later, and that imposter page still exists in its original format, and although inactive at this time, has had no changes made as suggested by your attorney. Again, your attorney gave no consequences in the letter for ignoring it. The commission's apparent lack of interest and lack of strong action in the situation shows a lack of integrity and a total lack of respect for your elected position and the public, and gives the appearance of being complicit. What will you do next to put a stop to this deceit and fraudulent behavior? I did want a response. Thank you.
Next person we have signed in is Cynthia Much.
Cynthia Munch, Centralia Chehalis Chamber, and I'm from Chehalis. For those who came, we did have a good turnout for the debates, and it was very interesting, and I learned a lot about the PUD and as well as the commissioners. It was actually great. We actually have quite a few events coming up. This one doesn't pertain to Centralia directly, but we are having a ball at Chehalis School District, and it's a kickoff for their CTE evening. So that should be actually fun and interesting, and the food provided are from their students. Centralia School District had a ball here through us earlier this year, and that was also a really interesting event and fun to attend. We do have a bunch of ribbon cuttings coming up, and many of them are here in Centralia. JJ Sports Bar is this Friday, 4 p.m. It will be fun. I just met the owners, and it'll be interesting and fun having them in your downtown, just be north of your downtown area. Victorian and Steampunk Emporium is Friday, October 25th. And then also the day before, this one is in Chehalis, but it kind of affects a lot of people. The villas at Kennecott finally are open, and they're actually going to have a ribbon cutting at one of their units, so people get a chance to take a look at it. They will be having some discounts, and many of us have watched it being built, and we do need more units in the area. So that'll be a good one. WorkSource Job Fair is October 31st, and that's at Centralia College with WorkSource, where they put these on, and we've been helping them out. And then, of course, Trick or Treat Transit's October 31st. The Lewis County Transit, we partner with them. They have a bus that goes to Fairview Center, but takes into downtown Centralia, loops around Chehalis and back to Fairview. And it's always fun. They always dress up. The bus looks fun, and we really encourage families to park there and enjoy both towns. And that's it.
Awesome, thank you. That's everybody that signed in. Is there anybody else in attendance today that would like to provide public comment? Please step to the podium.
Gary Odegaard, Centralia. And I remember today, Brian Dow broke his ankle and two bones, a femur and a fibula. So he couldn't get here, but he was gonna go on WebEx. He just sent a message, I can't get through on WebEx, something's turned off, so.
We
Just thought
have
I'd let you know.
over a dozen attendees in WebEx now, so it does look like it's working. Anybody else in attendance that would like to provide public comment? Hearing none, I will close public comment. Next item on the agenda for today is approval of the minutes for the October 2nd, 2024 meeting. Have we had a chance to look at those?
I move to approve the minutes of the October 2nd, 2024 regular meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries 3-0.
General fund warrants and vouchers 24006 through 24033, aggregate amount $130,532.73.
I make a motion to approve warrants 24006 through 24033 in the aggregate amount of $130,532.73.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve warrants. Is there any further discussion?
I do have three questions.
Mhm.
On warrant 24014, Lewis Consulting. I've asked before, I still haven't seen a report on what we get out of Lewis Consulting. And that, causes me concern for a future budget. On 24015 by Coastal Media, I think that's radio ads, and I was just asking to confirm that. And 24021 Department of Ecology.
That is for radio ads, yes.
Okay, thank you. 24021 Department of Ecology fill permit. Is that some of the work that we've scoped out for Centralia Station project, or is that a different project?
That is ongoing MPDS stormwater permit that we renew each year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about warrants? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item on the agenda under new business is the 2025 preliminary budget. Just as a quick note, that budget is available on the port's website under the more info section, news.
So commissioners, for you today is the preliminary budget. Each year in October, the port places on file the preliminary budget for the ensuing calendar year. We have done that. This is a copy of that, and it is available for any citizen that would like to request it. The budget hearing will be in November 16th. So we're still waiting on final assessed value tax numbers from the assessor's office. And we're also continuing to, as we look at the budget, at the moment, there's about a $250,000 surplus thereabouts. But when we look at the amount of property tax that has had to be refunded this year, 86,000 so far, we believe that will continue into next year. And so we think that we've accounted for that, but we will continue to track those moving forward. Happy to answer any questions you have at this time, and also happy to answer any questions commissioners have after this meeting. If you'd like to put an email on a more direct answer, that's fine.
Great. I would like to take a minute and talk about our budget, if that's okay. In public comment, the levy was brought up and sort of the history of the port. So I've done a bit more research and would like to talk about that for a few minutes here. As most of you know, the port was founded in 1986 by a vote of the people. The founding commissioners were Bob Thompson, Art Lamont, and Jean Grishong. Bob Thompson served 11 years as a port commissioner. Art Lamont as commissioner for 25 years, and Jean Grishong for commissioner as a commissioner for 29 years. It is frequently mentioned by port critics that during the campaign to create the port, that there was some sort of promise made that in 8 to 10 years, the port would be self-sufficient and only levy a tax for that long. I was born in 1987. I wasn't here for those conversations, so I cannot say for sure whether those things were said or not, but I believe that not to be true and would like to explain why I think so. I am also extremely grateful that the founding port commissioners saw the benefit of continued investment in the economic growth of Centralia. There's been a news story quoted from 1994, as quoted by Mr. Crowner again today, which was 8 years after the founding of the port, where founding commissioner Bob Thompson was quoted as saying he hoped to eliminate the levy in another 8 to 10 years. It is important to note that this was a comment from a single commissioner of what he hoped, and far from a promise or commitment from the commission as a whole. Just as one of us 3 commissioners today has the right to our opinions and to share those outside the commission as a whole, this does not constitute the collective will of the commission. If the levy had been eliminated 10 years from the date of that news story, it would bring us to the year 2004, which would have been 18 years after the formation of the port. Again, this makes me think the claims of a promise at the inception of 8 to 10 years is not accurate. Remember how long each of the founding commissioners served: 11 years, 25 years, and 29 years respectively. I understand that there are some people who would like to end the current port levy and for the port to cease to exist, but the vast majority of community members I speak with are thankful for the work the port has done and is continuing to do to foster a thriving and healthy economy in Centralia. I am glad that the previous port commission did not decide to eliminate the levy. I want to share the data I looked at to determine why I am thankful we have a thriving port of Centralia. The port currently includes 37 businesses employing roughly 2,330 people, accounting for $632.8 million in assessed value. Since the hypothetical year of 2004 that we talk about as being 10 years past when the comment was made by Bob Thompson, since 2004, 32 of the businesses in the port have been added. 2,200 of those jobs have been added, and $616.5 million of the assessed value has been added. That means since 2004, 86% of the businesses, 94% of the jobs, and 97% of the assessed value of the businesses in the port have been added. I think we should all ask ourselves what Centralia would look like if that levy had been eliminated in 2004. It is my belief that the founding commissioners of the port realized the significant return on investment that was happening because of the work of the port, and they recognized the continued investment by the citizens of Centralia through a levy could yield exponential economic vitality for Centralia. This data clearly shows the positive impact the port has had on the community. Where would we be without these businesses and jobs today? What would our tax bills as homeowners be? In 2024, the port levied a total amount of $1,149,000. This was a levy rate of 26.8 cents per thousand assessed value. On the average home, a value of $365,000, that is a tax bill of $97.82. In 2024, the total city of Centralia levy rate was $6.54 per 1,000 assessed value. If you live in the city of Centralia, the port levy is about 4% of your tax bill, but the port tenants represent 15% of all the taxes paid into the district. If those businesses were not here, the city, the school district, the fire authority, the library, etc., would all either collect 15% less for services, or your tax bill would be 15% higher. To me, this is clearly a positive rate on return for the taxpayers in Centralia, and many of the people I speak with share that same feeling. In 2024, the district value, the entire assessed value of the port district was $4,278,171,000. The 2024 assessed value of port tenants is $632.8 million, equaling 15% of all the assessed value in the city of Centralia. The port has proven itself to be the #1 economic driver of success in Centralia, especially since the closure of the coal mine. And I point to the continued success in Centralia Station and our other parks as further evidence that we will continue to have a very positive impact on our community for this foreseeable future. And I believe that as we continue this trajectory of success, that each year we take a close look at the budget and the levy and consider the impact of our decisions, not just for today and tomorrow, but for the next generation, just as our founding port commissioners did. Those are the comments I have on our current levy and budget.
Thank you for doing the research and thank you for bringing that up. You did bring up about Transalta closing. And that was a very good example how our city, our community, basically was banking on one industry. And when that industry closed for a number of reasons, we suffered, all of us suffered. And there were a lot of cuts. It was very difficult. There were a lot of people that moved out of the community because of not having that type of job. And that's where the port stepped in. And we have taken over the tax base that was originally at Transalta. But what's wonderful about the port is that we're diversified. And we don't have, to coin a phrase, all our eggs in one basket. So if one of our industries has a problem or a low year, the other industries will take up the slack. Whereas with Transalta, when it stopped, it was difficult. So I appreciate having the port, having the diversity of the port, so that we do have a solid tax base here in our community.
I do recognize that there are people who do not feel the same way as I do about the economic benefit that the port provides and the taxes that they pay. And I feel sorry about that. I hope that the information I've shared today is useful to people and they can think about that information and what that means for what the jobs mean for your neighbors and your community members and what that tax base really means for our community. I think that's really important and something we should all be thankful for. I appreciate staff's time putting this budget together. I did, as a comparison, go out and look at other similar budgets for other ports, both smaller than ours, about the same size as ours, and roughly double the size of ours. All of the budgets that I looked at were broken down in the same manner as ours. The criticism that the port's budget is not complete sort of puzzles me a little bit. I think it is important to understand what a budget is, and that a budget is our staff's attempt to take all of the buckets that we currently spend money in and make sure that we have those allocated for the following year. It can't be broken down into buckets that don't exist. Currently, under revenues, the two main categories are operating revenues, of which there are 4 subcategories, non-operating revenues, of which there are 5 subcategories, operating expenses, with a category of maintenance and operations with subcategories, 15 subcategories, as well as salaries and benefits, admin, broken down into 9 subcategories, outside services broken down into 8 subcategories, general administration, 20 subcategories, long-term liabilities broken into 6 subcategories, and capital expenditures broken down into 4 subcategories. Of some of the other jurisdictions I looked at, they roll their budget up into those top categories, only reporting total operating revenue, non-operating revenue, maintenance, salaries, and expenses. So appreciate staff's work on this budget and breaking those things down for us. If I have any further questions, I will email staff.
Thank you. And again, commissioners, the second meeting in November will be the annual budget hearing that will occur likely 1:30 that day. We will get that scheduled and get the legal ad out there. But anytime between now and then, feel free to ask questions or subsequent to the public hearing as well. Next item of business I have for you is the signed easement agreement between the Port of Centralia and Winco Foods. This is for a pylon sign. We've been discussing this for quite some time and finally have come to a mutual agreement on this. The agreement was prepared by the port's attorney, been reviewed by Winco's attorneys. They are okay with it. If you'll flip back to the exhibits. The first one you'll see has the City of Centralia logo on it. That's showing the easement of where the power to feed the sign would go. We would look to put that down the edge of the no-build easement of the ramp, so as not to encumber the property, but still leave room for city lights should they need to get in there for a 10-foot easement. The next page is the breakdown of costs and the cost bearing between that, with Powell picking up just about 75,000, Minco just about the same. Actually identically the same, and the port picking up 162,000. So the reasons for that, if we'll flip back further, as we look at the sign itself, Winco's portion of that is the pylon, and at the top, the Winco Foods, they'll have a perpetual easement there. Powell will have an easement for the 4 tenant placards below that. And beneath that will be a electronic sign that will be wholly owned by the Port of Centralia. That sign will be utilized to market port properties, port initiatives, and we're excited about it. This is something we've worked on for almost 2 decades. It's difficult to find a place on I-5 with not only the visibility required, but to also meet the requirements of the state DOT permit, which this site does and this design does. We would allow Winco to take on the construction of the sign. This is their area of expertise. We will reimburse them up to cost not to exceed 162,000. Again, it's been reviewed by our attorney, signed off on by Winco's attorneys, and we recommend your approval.
I move to approve the signed easement agreement between Winco Foods LLC and Port of Centralia.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, or is there any further commission discussion on this agenda item?
I just have one question. The director said that this has been in the works for a long time. Well, Monday when I got my packet was the first time I'd heard of it. But I did have some questions, but he answered the questions during his statement. So thank you.
Okay, great. I think when he mentioned it's been in the works for a long time, he was referring to the Centralia Station project. Are there any attendees of the public who would like to provide public comment on this agenda item? Hearing none, I will close public comment. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next item on the agenda for today is commissioner reports. We'll start with Commissioner Lalonde on the phone.
Let's see, I attended a county commissioner, I attended the City of Centralia meeting. I had a meeting last week with one of Senator Murray's staffers, and she grilled me. So if we have any needs, any financing needs, and I did have a question where we are, and maybe Commissioner Markstrom or Director Heaton could fill me in, where we are on that interchange on Harrison. What is it, Sandra, where the county wants to put a new interchange up there, which might be our future Gallagher Road intersection. Have we had any updates on that? What's going on with that project?
I know
and that's it for me.
I know that the county and the city are working on the engineering for that project right now. I've seen some preliminary things, shared some thoughts with the county. I know Port staff talked with them, shared thoughts as well.
Staff met with the county and the city for the first time last week. They provided plans to us for the first time. We have sent those to our engineers and our planners for review. We have concerns. We've expressed those to the county. We'll wait to see. Fortunately, we're at 60% design, so there's still room to straighten things out and get things going. But appreciate them bringing it along. We, where we could be approving on railroad crossings, we were. But there's some issues to be dealt with as far as intersections, and they were receptive to that. I've agreed to go back, look at that, and come back with revised plans. So we look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, one thing that I saw when I was looking at that, if we move that intersection 150 feet or so, north of where they suggested originally, we may be able to open some of that property that we have over there up prior to having a full Gallagher Road extension in. So, you know, if they're putting an intersection in, and if we place it in the right spot and get our sewer and water lines extended across the road there, that could be very helpful to us in the future. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cochran.
I attended the Chamber of Commerce board meeting. And then also one of our tenants, Dick's Brewery, is celebrating their 30th anniversary this Saturday night. And so, yeah, everyone is invited to the party. And I want to congratulate them for being 30 years here in the board.
Yeah,
And that's it.
great. Yeah, congratulations to Dick's. They've been a pillar of great small business in the community, providing jobs here in the port, but also being an awesome community member like so many of our tenants. So congratulations to them.
An amazing community supporter.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Tremendous.
sponsor, you see their name all over the place. So really appreciate everything they do. I don't really have any committee reports. Tonight is the open house at 7 o'clock at the Stream Depot for city manager candidates. They've narrowed it down to 3. So look forward to going to that tonight and meeting those prospective candidates and invite the public to join as well. And I think that's all I have for today.
The only other thing I have for you commissioners, I just wanted to report that we did have pre-construction with Sterling Green, Monday of this week. Explained to them our expectations and the movement we wanted to see on the site.
Just for the record, that's the contractor that's doing the grading down on.
Correct. The contract was awarded them. They were issued a notice to proceed. We were curious as to why they weren't there. So they've given us, they will be there Monday, commencing work in full form. So this week's a little off on weather, so hopefully next week better, but we are tracking them closely.
Okay, great. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in.